Congratulations on the film. I just finished watching it and actually really, really enjoyed it. Uh, don't always get to say that, and I was really excited to get to the end of it. So why don't you? It's a pretty unusual story, I'd say. Why don't you kind of set the scene for us a little bit and talk just a little bit about the plot and a little bit about who your character is?
Sure thing. So I play Max in Gone in the Night, and Max is a kind of an aging a millennial clinging to his coolness and his youth with a fierce desperation. He's dating an older woman named Kath, played by the legend, the icon Winona Ryder. And to try to inject some spontaneity into their relationship, Max makes the decision to whisk her away to a cabin in a remote part of the redwood forest on a getaway. But when they arrive, after getting lost in the middle of the night, they find that the cabin's been double booked and there's a young couple already staying there. So my character talks them into letting us all stay there for one night. And we play some board games and drink some beer, and fun times are being had by all. But then in the morning, Kath, Winona Ryder's character, wakes up to find out that her younger boyfriend has disappeared and seemingly run off with the younger woman that was at the double booked cabin. And that's the setup, basically. And it takes some interesting twists and turns and detours along the way after that. But that's really what kicks the story off, is that.
Yeah. So what do you think is motivating him? I mean, what's he's obviously intrigued by this younger couple. I think at some point, he feels like a little bit of ennui with his life. He says, "I don't want to miss out on life." At one point, which I thought was kind of interesting. What's his motivation to get involved with this mysterious and malevolent young couple?
Yeah, I think Max is a person who is not quite entirely sure where he belongs in the world and on the spectrum of generations. I think he feels caught in the middle, and he is rather caught in the middle as an aging millennial. I think he's taken with Kath because she has a wisdom and a maturity that comes with age, and I think he yearns for that to a certain extent because he is rather simple in a lot of ways. But I think he also wants to go back in time, and he wants to find the young, cool, hip thing, and he wants to be part of whatever is relevant. And so when this kind of seductive young Gen Z couple shows up, played brilliantly by Brienne Chu and Owen Teague, and I think he's terrified of them because they're these kind of cool kids with these different values and these different social circles, and yet he's very, very drawn into it and wants in, and he wants to be a part of it. And so I think in the cabin, I think what he's really wishing he could do is kind of combine both worlds and somehow have it all. I think ultimately he learns that you can't really have it all in this life. We all try to time and time again, and we all try very hard to prevent the sands of time from slipping through the hourglass, but as we know, it's impossible.
Yeah. So talk about working with Winona Ryder. I mean, she's great in this also as a you.
Yeah.
Looking back on the experience, will there be like a moment of working with Winona Ryder that'll be like, oh wow, that really was what it was like?
Oh, the whole thing was incredibly surreal. I mean, I've been a fan of hers forever. I mean, who hasn't? I grew up with her films. I had a massive crush on her living in the suburbs of Wilmington, Delaware, when I was a little kid, renting all of her movies on VHS from the video store. So when a script landed in my inbox last summer and my agent said, "Hey, check this script out. Winona Ryder really, really likes you. She wants you to play her younger boyfriend." I mean, I fainted. I couldn't believe it. Just the fact that she knew who I was and was familiar with my work. And then when I showed up on the first day of rehearsal and I met her, she ran up and she hugged me, and everybody around me kept asking me like, "Oh, how long have you known Winona? Do you guys go way back?" And I was like, "No, I just met her. I've never met her before." But everybody was assuming that we knew each other because I don't know, we had this instant kinship and camaraderie. I think there's a lot of simpatico stuff going on where we like a lot of the same things, like our music tastes and our movie tastes and our theater and our book and our poetry, like everything is very aligned. And
Yeah.
the first day I got there, I mean, I couldn't believe it. She came up to the table read with a paper bag, and she opened it, and she was like, "Hey, I have something for you." And this was the first time I'm meeting her, and she pulled out a vintage 1991 Replacements concert T-shirt from their last actual tour as a band. You know, she was like, I heard through the grapevine that you were a big Replacements fan. First of all, I don't know how she found that out, you know, but she did somehow, and she gave me this concert T-shirt that she's had in her closet since the early 90s, and one of my favorite bands. And so that kind of set the tone for the rest of the shoot. It was just like total love fest. And I was asking her so many questions about her past and working with this director and working with that director, and what was it like to shoot The Crucible, and what was it like to work with Tom Waits, and what was it like to work with Jim Jarmusch. I just like, I couldn't get enough of it, you know.
Uh, did you have a favorite scene working with her on the film?
I think, you know, I have very fond memories of the last thing we shot. It was the last thing that we shot that together. It was my last day of filming, and we filmed the scene where we get in a little bit of a fight right before we decide to go off to the cabin. And my character, it's the scene in which he says, you know, I don't want to miss out on life. And kind of woos her back into his arms to take her on this getaway. For some reason, that is something that sticks out to me. I think it was because we were kind of saying goodbye to each other in the scene, because I was about to wrap and head to the airport. But there was a real bittersweetness to filming that scene, and that sticks out to me for some reason.
Hmm. Do you have a favorite non-Winona scene? I saw you got a little bit of elbow action in that.
The elbow. Oh my God, poor Brianne Chu had to lick my elbow several times in that scene. I was very careful. I was like, okay, listen up, everybody. Let's make sure we get this, because I just do not want to subject this poor young woman into licking my elbow more than she has to. That was fun. I really love the two scenes that I have alone with Owen Teague and Brianne Chu, where I kind of meet them in the deli and kind of assert myself into their social circle, and then we go to this bar. I loved those scenes. I was just so impressed with them. Owen and Brianne are brilliant. I mean, I just like feel like they're going to be such stars. I mean, they already are in their own right, but I feel like we're going to be seeing so much more of them in the coming years. They're terrifically talented, and I love their instincts as actors, and we got along great, and filming those scenes was really fun.
So is this the type of movie that you gravitate to personally, like sort of twisty, surprising movie like this?
Yeah, I mean, I do love the genre. I love kind of thrillers and, you know, kind of science fiction adjacent types of mysteries and horrors. I do love those films. I kind of just gravitate towards whatever, you know, I still am. I don't get to be the most choosy actor in the world. I've had some good luck, but I still am at the mercy of what finds its way to me and who wants to work with me. In the few last years since I've done some more genre heavy film, I do feel like I get more thrillers and more horror films than I used to. But I just like anything with a real human component. And what I loved about this movie was that it's heightened and it goes to extremes, and it is a genre film, but at the heart of it are some very, very human themes and questions that these characters are grappling with. And I love that. Anytime that you can kind of have the best of both worlds, where you can do a thriller or a mystery, but at the end of the day, it's about something real. I feel like that's kind of just like the best of both worlds.
Yeah. So I'm just curious, how did Winona get associated with this project? Was it something that she sort of championed all along?
No, you think my understanding of it was that Eli Horowitz, who wrote and directed the film, once he started writing it, it was an idea that kind of came to him naturally. And then as he started writing it, he started thinking, oh my gosh, how cool would it be if Winona Ryder played this part? He got it in his head. And then once he had finished it and he was starting to cast it, I think it was just a bit of a long shot. They sent it to her reps, and she read it and actually dug it, you know, and I think she is, you know, my understanding is that she is very picky, because she doesn't have to do anything she doesn't want to do, obviously, at this juncture in her career. But it spoke to her, and she thought it might be something special to get involved in. And so she had a real hand in who else got cast. You know, obviously she goes way back with Dermot Mulroney, and And I think she was real champions of Brienne and Owen, and then my good fortune, somehow she was a fan of mine, so that's how I got involved.